Welcome to the Black Delegates podcast. Today is April the 3rd, 2018. And we're back for another episode. This is what episode we on? 8? It's been a long time, man. We almost up to 10. Let's see who we got. We got I guess you're not really a special guest anymore, G. You're kind of just a
regular.
You're a regular guest. So, how's it feel to be a regular guest, G?
Feels good.
All right. And the usuals. We got Paul. What up, Paul?
What's up, fellas? What's up?
And Ghetto Phenom. What's up?
What's that?
All right. And I'm the Black Ryan, of course. And so let's start off with this week in blackness. G, I know now since you are 2 episodes in and you're an expert on this now, we can start with you to kick it off. How was your week in blackness, man?
Sorry to disappoint, but, uneventful.
That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes ain't nothing going on. You still black.
All right.
Can't change that. How about you, Phenom?
Phenom, for me, mine was actually fairly uneventful itself. Try to think of something to highlight. Man, it's interesting because I work at a media center at a newspaper, and so oftentimes we have our meetings or whatever to suggest stories and give ideas. And so sometimes you suggest something and it falls on deaf ears. And for me, I don't really take things personally or whatever. It's like, hey, you don't like that idea? Cool. I'm going to keep it moving. But it was interesting because there was, I do this basketball ministry on Saturdays or whatever, and been doing it for years. And so I've been, I've talked about it at work, told people about it or whatever. And so another media source decided to do a story on it. And it was funny just coming back to work, like people were kind of salty, like, hey, yo, why you ain't tell us about that? How we got to read about your story in another media space? And so I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for 6 years. Like, everybody know about y'all didn't want to do it. Like, that's fine, because I wasn't really seeking out coverage like that. But it's just funny to see, people get salty when somebody else want to tell you your good news or your good story. So that was my week in blackness, just watching people, where I'm at, kind of look at me sideways like, man, you should have told us about that.
Psh, ain't that a mess, man? Yeah, I understand. So what about your week, Paul? Your week in brownness, how was it?
My week in brownness was extra brown, and by extra brown, I mean I worked literally 80, 90, maybe even 100 hours this week at my job for no extra pay, and that's why it's extra brown, because I got no extra pay for all that hard work, man. I got paid just like regular folks that work 40 hours surfing the internet all day, playing around. I'm busting my ass humping.
Hey,
no extra pay.
Did you jump on the back of a truck at 6 o'clock in the morning? Because that's what it sounded like you did.
I did not. I stayed in an air-conditioned room with in front of a computer, but I did not move, and I was working all night, even at home, man, just trying to get caught up on this project I'm leading next week. So that was the brown part of my week. Now let me tell you about the extra white part of my week. So even despite all that, I did 2 things that were extra white that I've never done. Well, I haven't done very often. So it's springtime here in North Carolina. It's getting warm. So your boy, he went to the store, bought himself a plant, and potted himself a fern in his office, and that is extra white.
Oh, potted a fern.
So yeah. So I realized when I went to Home Depot and purchased the potting soil, I was like, man, this is some lame ass shit I'm doing right here.
Sometimes you send somebody undercover and they've been undercover too long, that they start flipping sides.
Right.
That's Paul right now.
Cover, man. Hey, I'm
he like a double agent.
Yeah, dog. We can't trust you no more.
I'm the Matt Damon character in The Departed. That's exactly what's going on here. But when I was staying online,
here's my question.
Go ahead.
Here's my question about that. Did you go there with the purpose of getting a fern? Like, were you like, I'm about to get this fern?
No, this is what made
Or did you just go to get a plant and it just turned out?
This was what let my whiteness show through, because it was a spur of the moment thing. I was in there going to get a couple some other supplies, and I was like, you know what? I think I want a plant in my office. I've been kind of toying with my idea back in my head, but I was like, I'm going to go do that. And I didn't have the kid with me, didn't have the wife with me, so I had room in the car. I was like, let me just go ahead and knock this out. And they were all sitting right there, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and buy that. Put it in my car, rolled on, and and put it together. But anyway, that was just one part of my extra white part of my weekend. Other part, went and ran a 5K.
Oh no!
Now
look, we done lost Paul, man. We done lost.
So look, I signed up. I paid money. I didn't just sneak in the race with no number on or anything. I did all the steps. I paid for it. I got the little T-shirt. I got the little note card with the number on it. But what made this extra white is that I took the kid stroller and the kid, and so I was that dude with the running hat on and the number on the chest. That was me. That was me. I was legitimately suburban dad this week. So that was the other extra white part of my week.
Pictures.
No pictures because there's no social media out there. So yeah, that was it, man. But Ryan, what about you? How was your weekend?
Oh no, we're not done with that.
You're not done.
Hey,
Okay,
right, he tried to get out of there real quick.
I run. Always run.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh, yeah, man, just, I mean, nothing. I don't take it seriously, but like 5K stuff like that, you know, and where we used to live at, go with coworkers, you know, every now and then we do it like that, you know, just for fun, nothing big.
What type of running shoes do you got?
I got Nikes,
you
man.
Got some Brooks?
Man, no. Hey, only there's only Nikes and Timbs on these feet. Come on now, player. I still keep it right. So I got Nikes, man. I got some old regular Nikes. You know, nothing special. Not the old ugly, you know, dad Nikes. I got you know, cool Nikes, but yeah, Nikes, man.
I get about 50 feet, my hamstring get tight.
Right. Hey man, but those people, you know, it was one of these 5Ks for like a charity or whatever like that. So it was cool, but man, you know, those people, there's people that are definitely into the lifestyle. I know like coworkers previously that, you know, that were definitely into like, hey man, you know, every weekend, oh man, it's a 5K here and there, and especially when it's spring. You know, spring and fall, they kind of die out in the summer because it's just too hot. But man, they go to every single one. It's really just a social thing because because it's just a ton of, you know, chicks hanging out afterwards, and they usually have a pretty good spread, beers and food and stuff like that. So, nice. Me, I'm always ready to get up out of there because like you're just hanging out, drinking beers and stuff like that. But all they got is the porta potties, and I'm like, dog, I'm not going in there, no porta potty. All these dudes are running a 5K. You know, they're dudes out of shape in here. You know, elderly people. I ain't hitting the porta potty. So usually it's like one beer and I'm out. I don't stick around too long.
All right, now that you're done with your weekend whiteness.
Yeah.
let's bring it back to the other side. All right,
Pulled
so
up in the Dodge Caravan.
I tried to get up off it quick, but you guys want to bring it back to whiteness. I was like,
man, we had to pull your car. We got to check your car, man. I mean, man, you just in too deep.
Paul is like the Kenny of the podcast, Kenny from South Park. Like Kenny always died on South Park. Like Paul gets kicked off of every single
episode,
show.
Yeah.
We need to just go and make that a straight up
should.
bit. Because Paul just be doing extra white things.
Good idea.
These are facts. These are all facts, bro. All facts. So what's up, Ryan? How about you, man?
Oh, man, my week, man. It's been it was pretty black. Had some Easter festivities over in East St. Louis at the church. So had the neighborhood come through, do a little Easter egg hunting, you know. But because it's a black event, you know, it did start timely, but for some reason, the kids, when they decided to quote unquote hide the eggs, you know, they kind of just piled the eggs in like 3 spots. So the kids kind of just all ran to a pile. It was ridiculous, man. Nice. I got pictures of it with the daughter down there just picking up eggs. She just pretty much just sat down and just started putting them in her bag. So no, that was kind of lame, but it was cool just to have you know, some things in the hood for the kids to do, man.
The kids like 3 trap houses. That's it, 3.
They come out, man, and I kind of try to paint their face. Nobody asked me to do nothing ghetto this year, so that was good. I know one year somebody asked me to paint Lil Wayne on their face. I was like, nah, man, I can't paint Lil Wayne on your face, bro. One time a little kid asked me to do some teardrops. Can't do that, man. Sorry. You know, but it was cool this year. Everybody was very respectful, and everybody had fun. Even though
how old were those kids when they asked you this? Straight
Man,
up.
probably 7 or 8. They was little. Yeah,
Hey, those
Put
dudes,
Lil Wayne
hey,
right on my cheek.
that's what dude said,
Hey,
and I was like,
we
nah.
need to go. We need to report back on those kids in like 10 years. Just see how they what's going on with their life.
They doing all right. I mean, I only been painting faces for like 3 years, man. So I do it once a year, and that's all the practice I get. So sometimes some of them be trash, and some of them be alright, and some of them be good. It's random. But yeah, that was my week, man. And then of course we know Sunday was April Fool's Day, which
Also Easter.
yeah, but April Fool's too. And I hate April Fools. I don't know about y'all. I don't know when April Fools, the comedic value of April Fools wore off a long time ago, but I hate it now. I can't stand people coming up with fake news stories, people trying to trick you on silly stuff. Some little dude came up and told me my son was cussing, and I'm like, where he gonna hear a cuss word at? Because I ain't cussing at the house, so what he talking about?
The Black Delegates pod.
Yeah, man, so well, clearly, no, because it ain't.
And you got a teenager up in the house. I'm sure he done heard.
No,
Right.
I ain't never heard her cuss, so I don't know where that would be happening. But I'm just saying. So
I
yeah,
didn't curse in front of my kids.
dude told me, he's like, yeah, man, he said the F word, and I'm like, what? I was like, he definitely ain't heard that. So yeah, I told that dude, like, man, don't ever lie on my son again, bro. Like, you need to relax with this April Fools, man. It's not cool.
Don't worry.
How old was
Uncle
this
Ish and
kid?
Uncle Paul will come over here and teach him. Don't worry.
Right.
Little dude might be 9 or 10, maybe.
And
he
you
was
check,
saying
and you checking them like that, like, hey, don't lie on my son.
Right.
yeah, man, that's not cool. Don't be lying on my son. You know what I'm saying? He could have caught him a beat down. Cause I don't know. I just heard him. I got to check that
laugh it
immediately.
off
Like, I don't
like,
want you
okay,
over here
little
cussing up
homie.
here. Nah, man, we cool. I dapped him up, but I was like, man, don't be lying on my son, man.
Dude, like, your dad.
with the mean mug
not
while he
fun.
said it though, like didn't let him know he was serious.
yeah,
Like, hey, I'll mess you up.
That's my dude. That's
The
my dude.
kid's like, what's up with your dad?
Yeah, Ryan done turned to that old angry black daddy.
Get off my lawn. Don't look at my daughter and get off my lawn.
Right, I remember that one.
Hey, when you trying to raise your kids right, man, I got to stamp out stuff immediately. So if you up here cussing, I need to stamp that out in a hurry. And I almost went to him like, I know you ain't say something, because we had a little problem when he watched Avengers because Spider-Man said S word. So then I had to, he kept saying it after that. He's like, oh, S. And I was like, dude, I told you that's a cuss word, man. Don't say it again.
It's
So,
amazing
yeah.
how they know the words not to say.
Right. And he just immediately knew. Like,
But they doing
I'm about
that
to start
because
saying
they doing that because you're reacting. If you're just kind of like, okay, just don't say that, just don't make a big deal out of it. They probably just go over faster. I know I like saying curse words because you're like, I'm supposed to say that stuff. I haven't broken that habit yet, actually.
Hey, well, I done checked him now. But speaking of April Fools, we're going to lead into our first little April Fool's story. So Anthony Davis, he drops a video on March 31st saying that, I'm finna cut my unibrow off, blah, blah, blah. I knew it was fake right from the jump, but I didn't know how fake it was. The video plays, and then he's like, "Oh, sorry guys, I knocked the phone over," and it was stupid because there was no reason why his hand would even be by the phone. It was posted up on the camera or whatever. And then it pans back after he fixes the camera. Unibrow's gone. It didn't look like it was like perfectly shaven, but I thought maybe he shaved it off, but he just wanted to pretend like he did it right then and there with the razor, because you can't cut your eyebrows like that. But yeah, then come to find out, dude didn't actually cut it off, and it was an April Fool's joke. And I think that's lame. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
I didn't really care about it one way or another. I saw the video and I thought it looked fake, but like you, I presumed that he had, that he did shave it or whatever, but I could tell he didn't do it right there. But,
Right.
April Fool's doesn't really bother me. People gonna do they little pranks and little jokes or whatever, and it doesn't bother me. It's April Fool's, let them do what it do. But that particular one, I mean, it was a interesting attempt because he built it up beforehand. They were talking about it on one of the halftime shows, like the day before. So he really built it up into something, and it wasn't that big. But again, for me, I didn't really care one way or another.
And then he did it on March 31st. So I kind of, because of course I'm checking the date. Like, is it April Fool's yet? Like, nah, it's still another day. So I was like, I shared it in the group. Like, yeah, maybe cut it off. Oh man, just another stupid April Fool's joke.
My take on this is that, well, I knew it was fake instantly because he got erased. Like, first of all, okay, so I'm brown, so yeah, I'm a little, and I'm definitely hairier than average people. So I gotta pluck my little eyebrows every now and then. Not as much. My eyebrow ain't like this.
You pluck your
He
brows.
did not
too?
just share that.
Hey dog, I'm keeping all the way real here.
And he trying to breeze over that and go to the next part.
I'm about to get into it, man. I thought we were in the trust tree. I thought we were in the nest, man. We can talk about whatever here, right? So I'm just
there's no safe place here, sir.
Yeah. Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I'm not out here looking like Cro-Magnon dude. So I'm the White House man right now. You gotta. I only got a few though, so I just gotta pluck a few. But man, but that dude,
eyebrow plucker.
You need to cut that mess off. But I knew it was fake, but because looking at the razor, like nobody would use a full
eyebrow.
Like,
that razor is huge, right? Yeah.
That razor is huge. Like, oh man, you destroy your eye from doing that. That'd be a terrible idea to do that. But yeah, so that's how I knew it was fake. But I feel sympathy for the dude because he got it a lot worse than I got it. But yeah, he just cut that mess off because that looks like trash. So man, I get it. It's a little trademark or like that, but. Man, get rid of that mess, man.
I think if he would cut that unibrow off, he would win a playoff series. I think if he cut his unibrow off, he would actually get some MVP votes and maybe win one here soon.
I wasn't shocked, but I was just a little surprised because I know that's his little trademark. That's his little thing. But I mean, I'm kind of like Ish. I didn't really trip off of it for real.
Yeah. But my advice to anybody, man, if you got that mess, man, trim that crap. Just get rid of it. Hey, man.
Right.
Just pluck it,
you might get a couple jokes here and there from your boys or like that. But hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, man. You just dealt a bad hand genetically on that part of it. But man, you got to get that stuff out of there, man. I'm sorry. No unibrow here. It's got to go.
Just clean the road up.
Yeah, that's right, man. Just ain't got don't go crazy with. Don't try to look like like B2K or something like that out here, man. Just nice and neat, something simple. Don't try to look like a Cisco out there, man. Just nice and neat.
Chico DeBarge.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't go crazy with it, man.
Now,
ain't nothing wrong with it. There will be no eyebrow shaming on this podcast. That I can guarantee you.
I don't know what to say about you.
Yeah, we're just gonna shame you for your plucking. We won't shame your eyebrows. We're gonna shame you for plucking.
Plucking eyebrows.
Now, what turned out to not be an April Fool's joke was that an Atlanta charter school decided that for a Black History program, they would have their second graders hold up masks in blackface, and they recited Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem "We Wear the Mask," and they held up the mask. And if you look at the mask on here, and of course we'll have a link in the show notes. This is the classic African-looking face that Bugs Bunny had, in them old racist cartoons.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like they tried to hide it or anything. There's one thing if you just have a face of a black person and you have them hold it up.
Right.
Then maybe you say, okay, well, we're not going to consider that blackface. But no, this got the big red lips, the big circle eyes, just, says coon all over it. So I don't know what the administrators at this school were thinking. But it's like you're trying to honor Black History Month by doing the most stereotypical, demeaning, degrading thing that you can do.
Did you get a chance to check this out, G?
Nah, but just listening to it, yeah, it just lets you know the people. There was no diversity on whoever made this decision.
Do you guys give them a pass? I mean, I guess their heart was in the right place. The mask is the bad part, but I mean, they were trying to do a poem. I guess it's about racism by a black poet, Paul Laurence Dunbar, who I've vaguely heard of, but like,
You haven't heard of Paul Lawrence Dunbar?
I mean, I've heard of it, but
You
not.
really think
It's a
the
long
dude who
time ago.
plucks his eyebrows has heard of Paul Lawrence Dunbar?
Okay, I'm with you now.
I mean, this brother said just today evidence of running a 5K, planting a fern, plucking his eyebrows. Probably ain't heard of.
I hadn't heard it. I had to. I've heard it vaguely, but no, it's not on my. Not that I have a big long list of poems that I can recite or listen to often, if ever. But I've heard of the dude, so I don't know. Maybe their heart was in the right place, but yeah, bad delivery. I guess I give him some credit for effort, but poor execution on the delivery. So,
all right, here's my conspiracy brother. Let's play this right now. Gotta get this out the way.
Yeah.
All right, conspiracy brother. Conspiracy brother is going to give this a 8 out of 10. And you know why? Because I'm starting to believe that the underbelly of this white supremacist movement, they are sending themselves these little messages here and there saying like, hey, we out here and we with y'all. Every once in a while, they slip up, or they're not slipping up. They do something that's blatantly racist, where everybody knows it's racist. Everybody knows that you don't do the blackface thing. Everybody already condemned those old Bugs Bunny cartoons with the faces like that. Everybody knows that you don't do it. And yet some kind of way it passed through all these supposed educators and educated people in order to keep doing things like that. And I think it's just a way to kind of wink and nod to each other that they still out there and the movement is still going.
I don't know. I mean, I think this really is just showing how certain people feel. You know, I don't think there's any grand conspiracy about it. I think these things have probably been happening for a very long time, but now that everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a camera that is readily available, everybody has access to social media, we get to see these things that were happening, you know, in silence, that things that were happening in the schools, and maybe the people at the school knew about it, but nobody else did. But the fact that this happened like in Atlanta, right? Which Atlanta is
the blackest place on earth,
blackest cities, right, in America. So you can't tell me that this person had no idea. But I think they just don't care. Like that's just that teacher's
it probably was
vision of black.
It probably was an honest mistake, but like I said, you know, there was no diversity on the decision-making panel on this one.
Well, yeah, I think that's I think Greg hit it right in the head. It's just there's no diversity probably in this school. I mean, it's a charter school, so it was probably made so the kids can avoid having to interact with the public school kids in Atlanta, probably off top. So yeah, it's probably just it was just poor execution. Like whoever thought that was acceptable just hasn't been around other cultures before, or at least or knew that was probably inappropriate.
I don't think that's true. I think if you look at that school, there are a lot of black teachers at that school. Now, this was done by one specific teacher. I'm hoping that teacher was white. I haven't seen a picture of that teacher, but charter schools actually have a lot of black students at charter schools. It's not like charter schools are just white schools, at least not in St. Louis where I am. A lot of these charter schools are filled with black kids, they're filled with black teachers, they're filled with black administrators. So I don't think you can blame it on ignorance, like they just didn't have any idea. I just think that that's just how they feel. You know, that's how that particular teacher felt. And I do.
Oh, you're right. I see some. I think I see some black kids in the.
Yeah, it's a couple. I think
it's hard. Well, it's hard. They all got masks on, which I mean, and I don't.
Yeah, even on the video, there's a lot of black kids in that video. It's not a couple. It's several.
I didn't notice that many. Okay. Well, just wondering. That's just still my conspiracy, and I'm gonna hold to it.
I think it's like this is the.
Okay, but
this is like the Betsy DeVos mandate. I don't know, and we don't have this on the show notes, but I don't know. Did you guys see the thing about the Sinclair broadcasting?
Yeah.
No, what's that?
So it's like Sinclair Broadcasting is a media company. They own a bunch of TV shows or TV
networks
stations around America. Like a lot
they're,
of them.
I think they're the largest. They're the
America.
largest in America. I think.
Yeah, the largest one. They own the most TV stations in America, but a lot of them, like, think about how Channel 11 News used to be here. A lot of those type of stations they own. And so they recently just had, like, the corporate sent a bunch of, they sent them a script to read, and it's basically saying there's a lot of fake news. You shouldn't trust news organizations other than them, of course. And they're sending down this pro-Trump thing that they made all of their anchors read. Like, and they sent a memo like, this is a must-read. This isn't optional, yada, yada. So that's got a lot of coverage in the news. I think that this might be something like that. If you want to talk about conspiracies where Betsy DeVos is up here sending down these type of memos trying to do the most racist stuff that you can possibly do, because she wants to push her pro-charter school agenda.
I don't know, man. I feel like that if we can say that everybody has a cell phone and that now we can see all these kind of things, those same people have a cell phone so they can see it and they can know that it's wrong. So how is it that they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again? That's why I think it's more...
Because it's not a mistake. They don't care. They're emboldened.
Well, yeah, that's why I said it's a message. It's not a situation where it's an honest mistake. They know what they're doing. They're just trying to send a message to us like, you can't stop us. And we hear.
Maybe. I just think they feel like this is what it is. Like, I don't think there's wrong. Like, I don't even think it's like let me send a message. It's just like, this is what I think. And so I'm just going to say it. Like, I'm not wrong. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to just say it. It's not, I'm trying to send a message out to anybody. It's just, this is how I feel. So.
Okay. All right. So, we wanted to switch up the podcast a little bit. So, from now on, I think we want to try to do a discussion topic where we can get into something and kind of do a deep dive on it if we can, just about different, give our opinions on different topics or different subjects. And I know lately with the stock market's been in play, and with Donald Trump in office, there's been a lot of talk about money and CEOs getting paid tons of money. I know the Duke Energy CEO recently, they put out something saying how much money she was making per year. I think she was making, what was she making, like $34 million a year or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was in the 30s. Big money. And we also, with the closing of Toys R Us, for whatever reason, they have bankrupted the company and going out of business, and the CEOs still found a way to give themselves bonuses. So they are firing all those people, thousands of employees, and at the same time they're getting $14 million in bonuses. So with that being said, it got me thinking about, how important we or how much stock we put into money, period. Like, how much money is enough money for us? Because it seems to rule everything. And how much money do you actually need to be happy? How much money do you actually need to live your life and be set up for life and be comfortable? And thinking about that CEO, if you made $34 million in just 1 year, do you really need to work 2 years? Do you really need that second year? Like, if you probably already got a $10 million house. What's the difference between a $10 million house and a $20 million house? Do you need that? Is that important? So I just wanted to kind of get into a money topic and kind of spread that around, kick that around, and see what we can come up with. So who want to go first?
I think this is Paul's wheelhouse. At least he should kick it off. Paul is the money man.
I don't know if I'm the money man, but first let me start off by saying this, kids. Cash rules everything around me. Dollar bill, y'all. Okay, that's where I'm gonna come off top of this. But how much money do I need to be happy? okay, so I'm reading this article that Ryan sent around CNBC. And I've read articles because I'm in the finance, whatever. I went to college for finance, all that stuff. So this is kind of like my little pet project, interest that I have. Ryan and we always discuss like stock tips or tax advice, all types of things. So this is like in my wheelhouse. So it's talking about your happiness peaks it's correlated with earning $75,000 a year. Dog, I can tell you, no. Happiness does not stop at $75,000 a year. I think the big issue with how much money do you need is just like as you acquire, more salary, more whatever you want to consider wealth. You just you're what you want to call it, your nut, your expenditures, they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's never enough. Like I make a lot more than I made when I first started working. And it just things keep growing, man. When I was like first out of college, man, I had a job. I was on the road, traveling all the time, and I was never home. I had no food in the refrigerator. I'd go home and eat every weekend. If I wanted to go to a football game, a pro football game, pro basketball game, go, take a little small vacation, go to a restaurant every night. That was no problem, man. Now I got the kid, the wife, spending all these bills. Like it feels like I definitely have less money in my pocket than I did before, even though I make a lot more money than I did when I first started off. And so, like, I'm not there yet. And so but for me personally, the number, I have this number in my head, 300,000 a year. If I make 300,000 a year, I'm good. I'm set. I'm retiring. That's all I need. 300. That's what I want. I'm not saying that's now we're talking about between wants and needs. I'm talking about what I want.
And we can bounce around. We can bounce around a little bit, so don't think you gotta say everything all at once. So
I'm saying if I hit the lottery for a minimum of $300,000 a year for the rest of my life, I'm retiring. That's my number. Anything more than anything that or above, I'm retiring. Anything below that, I'd probably still work for at least some period of time. That's that. If I won the lottery today, that's like how I would factor in. So 300,000 is what I would need.
What you think, G?
Hey, this dude just broke it down to give me $300,000 a month. Hey, man, just break me off about 20 mil off the top.
I told you last time the Powerball got to like 600 million. I said I'd take care of you guys if I hit it. No, hey, you good. I don't need that much. I just need 300,000 a year. That's all I need.
Hey, give me 20 mil. 20 mil.
If I hit that $600 million Powerball, you guys got
let's not go crazy with it because I want to talk about per year money. I don't want to talk about like forever money.
Yeah. 300,000 a year.
So per year, if you got to work still for the rest of your life until you retire.
Work still. No, I mean, if I 300,000, like I would retire. If I wanted to, if you want me to continue working, I probably need 200,000.
Man, give me a year.
A year,
just
total.
Man, you give me $100,000 a year, I'll probably quit my job.
Yeah.
Well, it's still based on whether you still gonna work. So it's not a you done kind of a deal. It's like how much do you think you need, just money wise? You still gonna have a job.
Oh well.
But how much would that job pay you for you to feel like you happy? You don't need nothing else.
Oh well, you can add on. Yeah, give me $100,000 a year. I'd be cool.
The one thing I'm telling you about, but this is the problem with the whole thing is like once you get used to making that extra 100,000 or 100,000 a year, then you start living that lifestyle to that 100,000 or whatever it is a year, and then you're like, okay, then 2-3 years later, you're like, man, yeah, we could have like another kid or something. The wife said, like, we want to have another kid. And you're like, oh yeah, we got plenty of money for it, and then all that money goes, or like, hey, yeah, we want a new house or we want a new car. Like, man, it's that creep that gets you, man. It's that creep.
But you would do the same thing you would do the same thing with the 300,000.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly right. That's why I say 300,000 because that would be so much more above than what I currently make. That I feel like that would take like years for me to like get to a point where like, hey, 300,000 is too much. If I kept living my current standard of living, I feel like that wouldn't be exhausted like in the next 5 years, 10.
What you think, Phenom?
Man, well, let me tell you a story real quick about a gentleman that I used to work with. And so I was at a school district working at the time, and this guy was a janitor. And so he would go out and play the scratchers or buy little lottery tickets or whatever for the pick 3 or pick whatever. So at one point, this brother ended up, and I don't remember if it was a scratcher or like pick 3. I think it was like a scratch off, and he won like $2,000. And when I tell you, he came into work, he's telling everybody he won $2,000, marched down to HR and was like, "Yo, I quit. I won the lottery. I quit. I'm about this piece."
Wow.
2,000.
This dude had been, like $2,000, maybe $2,500.
How old is this dude?
And he thought he was I don't know, he's probably in his 40s or something, but he was a little challenged. Let's say he was a little challenged. So he went in there. All he knew was he won the lottery. He went in, quit. Told his boss he's out of there. And then when he got home and realized, his family were talking to him, and they're like, "Hey, this is great, but this isn't like retirement money. This is just a couple paychecks."
Right.
So he went back to the school district and apologized and asked for his job back.
Oh, man.
They told him, they said, "Okay, we'll hire you back, but you lose all of your seniority." So he had been
why
there
would they
like
do
13 years.
Oh,
Did he
wow.
cuss
took
somebody
away-
out? Did he cuss
Wow.
people out? Don't do the man
Oh,
like
man.
I
that.
heard that he did. I wasn't there, but I heard that he did.
Oh, okay.
Like he was cussing folks. Like, "I'm about this piece, F y'all,"
Wow.
I didn't hear it, but that was just good. So for him, 2,500 was that number. For me,
Hey, okay, yeah, that dude tripping.
right. But for me, I think I don't know I don't have that number in my head. I think for a lot of people, especially in this country, the number is a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just more than I got right now.
Yep.
And so I think we're always chasing that carrot.
Great
I
way
can
to
sit here
escape
and
the answer,
say,
Ish.
well, I could sit here and say, if I make 100,000, I'd be good. I'm kind of like G, where 100,000 just seems like that's a number where, you're set. If you're making 100,000, you really don't have any big worries unless you're going crazy, especially if you're still in like a 2-income household.
Wait a minute.
But
Ain't we adding this 100,000 to what we're making already?
No, I just told him.
Oh, total?
Yeah, you
Oh,
was talking
total?
about total.
Oh, total? Then, yeah, I probably need about somewhere between 150, 200,000 a year.
See, G right with me. He right with me. He knows what I'm talking
That's
about.
ridiculous. But go ahead, Ish.
yeah, I mean,
To
I
be
think
comfortable
whenever-
and happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whatever that number is, when you get it, you're gonna want more.
Yeah.
That's just how this capitalist system is.
Yeah.
I know people who are making 100,000, who still, now they trying to find the next job where they can go up to 150,000. They trying to get the next job where they go up to 200,000. So it's really always a rat race. So that's why it's hard for me to pick a number. I mean, I feel like I will be really comfortable at 100,000, but there's always bigger things that you want to do. So if I'm making 100,000, I'm like, man, I want to start this new business, or I want to, do this project.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need more money. So
It's all
my
about
answer is
need.
a little bit more.
It's all about needs versus wants. And so, Ryan, I think you're talking more like, what do you need? And I hear you. Like, man, if I sold everything,
yeah,
and like, what could I be? Like, give me just a don't need a fancy apartment, just a nice apartment, in a safe neighborhood in the city, whatever like that. Just maybe one nice car. What do I need? Okay, yeah, maybe I could get by with a total of for the whole family, 50. I could probably get by, be straight on that a year. But when you're talking about like just what do I want and based on what I how I'm living now and like how how I can see like, hey, I'd be comfortable for years to come. Like that's where I'm coming from with the
Man, I just know that and then I can only base it on my region because I ain't living nowhere else. But in the St. Louis market, man, you could get like a dope house for like 200,000. You know what I'm saying?
Dope,
I mean,
yes.
like a super dope house, and you will be
Yes.
fine. And I would say that's probably in most cities.
Yeah,
Except for New York or something
no,
crazy.
Man.
No, that is wrong. Like you said, that's gonna be for some like Midwestern cities,
yeah,
yes.
Memphis,
but when you
St.
get on the
Louis.
coast and
Yeah.
things
Well, yeah,
like
man,
that,
like New York or LA,
if you
of
go to
course.
New York or if you go to San Francisco or something like that,
Dog.
a 1-bedroom apartment is gonna cost $1 million.
Dog,
or
I have
$1.5
family.
million.
I have family who lives in New York. I have an aunt that lives in San Francisco. Man, like you cannot, and that's why I like my company. Like they'll actually they have positions in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Atlanta, Boston. I mean, but I won't even move to those cities. DC is like where they want me. They've been wanting me to move to DC for a long time. I can't afford to live there, man. They give you a bump in pay. but you just can't afford to live there, man, unless you want to do like a 2-hour commute to live way out in the suburbs, so you can have a decent house, and then have like a 2-hour commute into work every day, man. Ain't nobody trying to do that mess. So that's why I keep my butt in the South, man. It's cheaper, much cheaper.
It's somebody listening to us right now on one of the coasts that listen to us say 250,000 or 200,000, and they butt like what?
Well, that's why I said for the reach. Yeah. I don't want to be crazy. I know how much prices cost in California.
If you're living in San Francisco and you're not living with like 3-4 roommates, you have to make $200,000 a year just to have your own place as a family. Like just you and a girlfriend having your own place. You got to be making as a family $200,000 just to be able to live in the city of San Francisco. If not, you living way out across the bay in Oakland or further and commuting back and forth every day. But that, man,
well, look, man, like I tell my wife, everybody can't live on the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of your fault if you price yourself out of a situation like that. You know, everybody can't live on the beach. Everybody can't have a penthouse in Manhattan. That's just not how it works. But me personally, I think I would only need really, I don't know, man. And I mean like family-wise, just because right now how I feel, I'm like, hey, if the kids wasn't in daycare, I'd be straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I could just shave off that daycare money, I'll be straight.
But then it all goes to college. But then it all goes to college money, man. It's like once you have those kids, man, those extra things. Like I mean, like you like, okay, man, I can get by without putting college money away. But when you got it, and then you're like, I feel like I need to, or I should be doing this. And so like once the daycare goes away, it's gonna be something else that fills that void more than likely.
Yeah, but it don't have to.
How it goes, man.
It don't have to because I know, I don't know. I guess I was poor for so long that I'm just like, I don't really need that much stuff. And I'm just like, I'm fine. I'm fine with what I have now. I just want a little bit more breathing room, if that makes any sense. So, I don't think it would take too much more than what I already make for me to really be happy. If I had a job where I'm getting paid, like the lady from Duke Energy, if you got $34 million a year, man, after you work 1 year, what else do you need?
More money.
You don't need anything else because everything that you could possibly want, you should be able to have with $34 million. And that's even with taxes taken out.
That's not true. That's not even true.
It's just once you get around.
It's ridiculous that it ain't true.
It's just all.
What if she wants to buy?
You start thinking about your grandkids.
NBA team. What if she want to buy the Lakers?
Stop it.
You need like $4 billion, $3 billion to do that.
That's why it's ridiculous.
Everything got a price.
It's all about the creep, man. It's just once you get so she's making $30 million a year. In her previous job, she was probably making $10-15 million. But then once you get around those type of people and live in that kind of lifestyle, it's kind of like, I mean, there is a keeping up with the Joneses factor. You ain't seeing no CEO of no Fortune 500 company living in some 2,000 square foot ranch house in Omaha. They talk about Warren Buffett and stuff like that. Man, Warren Buffett he still owns the house that he bought 100 years ago, but he don't really stay there, man. That dude's living in ain't staying in no basic hotels when he's traveling around the world, and checking on his investments. He's staying he's flying private jets and stuff like that. I mean, don't get it twisted. That's just like the image that guy cultivates. But that dude's.
And let's look at it like this. I'll ask you this, G, because you've been on the sidelines for a second. So if we all around the same age here, so G, when you got out of college, when you got out of school or whatever and started your career and looked at your salary, what you were making then, you were probably thinking, man, if I can get to whatever you're making now, if I get to that number, like, I'm going to be straight. Like, I'm good. That's all I need.
Yep.
But fast forward, all these years, and now you're looking at your current salary like, man, this ain't doing it. I need to just make, if I can double this, I'll be good. So we always want more.
Yep.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
But those people that have more, there comes to a point where you can't fill that void, right? You have the money to buy anything that you want if you make $34 million a year, except for the Lakers or something ridiculous like that. But, most material things you're going to be able to buy. You probably got a yacht. You probably got 8 houses if you want them. You got all this extra stuff that you don't need. But at the same time, you'll never fill that void. And that's why rich people get to the point where they have to then try to find something that nobody else has to buy because everybody around you owns the same things that you have, right? Like everybody around me already has a Ferrari, so I got to try to get something that nobody can get. Let me try to get a Tesla because they can't make enough in a week where everybody can have one, or to be something crazy like that. Or I got to try to get this kind of yacht or that kind of yacht. I remember, Paul, I was listening to Bomani Jones, and he was saying how in Miami, he's like, no matter how rich you are, you can have the biggest yacht, but 2 weeks from now, another dude going to pull up with a yacht bigger than yours.
Oh, for sure.
And so you never going to have enough, but how much do we need?
I mean, that kind of gets into the whole, I mean, like it or not, it's a, capitalist society that we live in, I mean, we can debate that if you want to really get into that issue too, about capitalism versus, other economic systems, but capitalism right now is it's the most successful, and it's probably the best system there is. I mean, communism and things like that, we want to get deep into this. It sounds good on paper, but it's not worked very well in reality. We've seen that. And so I'd rather take a capitalist, democratic society that's not perfect over a communist system any day of the week. And that's the history has proven that over the last 100 years or so. So
I would say it works.
So I think you're going to have these inequalities at some level. And it's just like, how do you adjust for these inequalities? Like, because like you're right at the high end. I'm not talking about the two people making $200,000, $300,000 a year. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like at the the million a year type levels. So, one thing I would propose, and I don't know if you guys are really up on this stuff, is like death taxes. So that was a big thing that Trump wants to get rid of. President Trump is the death tax rule, which basically the government when you die, they if there's like whatever your estate is worth, say it's over a certain amount. I forget what the dollar threshold. I think it's $3 million. I think they raised it up to $6 million. But if your estate is worth more than $6 million, then they tax like 50-60%. Me personally, I've always believed that what they can do like a sliding scale for whatever the estate's worth, because I mean obviously inflation, things like that. But man, they should just tax that like 100%. Just get rid of just anything over $6 million. Just tax the hell out of that and tax all of it. And take and redistribute that wealth. More than likely, the people that had family. If you got $6 million in like estate when you die, you've been wealthy your whole life. You've probably given your family gifts.
Somebody else something, yeah.
You've probably given your family. It's not like your family's like, oh, we need money to go to college. If you're at that $6 million level, you've probably done taking care of all those type of things. Your family's set. They got houses. They got assets that they can they can invest. You can get you can gift stuff like that, but like when you actually die and you're worth that much, they need to do better of like, taking that back, because you don't want these families where you have, I'm not saying you don't want the families, but like the Bushes, these kind of families, basically become an oligarchy where you have these families, which is basically what we have right now. You got these political families like the Kennedys, the Clintons, the Bushes, maybe the Trumps in future generations. Let's hope not, but. You have these families that have this wealth, and they just keep holding on to more and more and more and more and more wealth, and more and more power, and it never goes away, right? So you need, I think, like the death tax, and it kind of was a big issue when Trump first came into office, and this whole tax plan, but it's kind of been flew on the radar once they changed it.
I've heard a proposal where somebody said, and I wish I could remember who I got this from, but I kind of like it, where they were saying that that we should put a cap on earnings per year. So let's say you put a cap on earnings per year at $20 million, and everything else that you make over $20 million, it would go into taxes and then redistribute it, where we can put it back into the school system, which needs money. We can put it back into parks or whatever else we want to put it, highways, whatever we want to put it into. $20 million is enough.
Why do we always say we're gonna put it back into the schools?
Because the schools need money. G, you know we do. We need some books, man. I want my son to be able to learn about astronauts like they do at the Montessori school, but he ain't gonna be able to.
But that's like casinos supposed to be giving back to schools, man.
Yeah, the lottery's supposed to give back to school.
Right. If that's the case, man, you should have the most pristine books in every school.
Yeah. And we could if we did that.
You can't even take books home. You can't even take books home at most schools.
All these lotteries and things are designed to do is like so each state, when they create these lotteries, every time they start up a lottery in a state, they tell all the voters like, oh man, we're gonna put all this money from the lottery into the schools, it's gonna do all this wonder. Man, all those legislatures do is they take that money that comes from that goes into the schools from the lottery, and they just take that right out of the budget. So it's just net zero, man. That's all it is. It's a net zero at best. So hey, yeah, we're gonna get $100 million a year for fund schools. Well, guess what they do 2 years out of that? We are defunding the state budget on schools for $100 million, and so now it's net zero. You're back at square one. So that's it's the same trick they've done in every state where there is a lottery, and that's just how these type of things go. But back to your point, like about the cap on earnings per year. I mean, I feel what you're talking about, Ryan, but like I just don't understand how that would work in practice, because like a company, I mean, it's up to the companies how they pay. So like Duke Energy, you said her CEO is making like $34 million a year. So that's Duke Energy money that they decided, hey, this is how we're gonna pay for our assets. And now, do I think that's way too high? I do. But that's that company's option of how they want to distribute that money. You really just have. I don't really care about like what the cap is. I more so care about the tax rate on that. I mean, if Duke Energy wants to pay her $100 million a year, that's fine. But I think that tax rate should be 70-80%. So then it goes back down. It's all relative. I'd rather keep it relative than just a hard dollar amount. Because who's to say that? Because I mean, hell, we all love basketball, baseball, whatever. I mean, they're killing. I mean, Duke Energy makes nothing compared to a baseball player or Kevin Durant, something like that. So I don't know. It's tricky, man. It's not easy.
Yeah, I wouldn't go after the individual earnings. I just don't like that idea. I feel like if somebody has the ability to create a product or to perform a certain way or whatever,
let the marketplace pay them.
Yep.
Yeah, let them get their bread. For me, if I was gonna go after anybody, it would be after companies. I mean, if you look at like Apple, they got like $285 billion
it's ridiculous
in cash, right now, and Google is somewhere up there, and Amazon, or not Amazon, Microsoft. All of those together are worth like almost $500 billion. So I think you have to be able to tax these filthy rich corporations. Like, there's no reason that you need to have almost $300 billion just in the bank, when that can really be going out to help the schools and help the homeless and all of these other things that we have. But I don't know. I think if you're talking about capping anything, maybe doing percentages or something like a CEO, because we do have this huge gap between what executives are making and what the regular people are making. So I would be okay with some type of regulation where you say the executives can make this percentage of
like 6x, 6 times the typical work, something like whatever, right. 10 times,
and
like
the rest of the workers, they have to make this percentage. If you do that, then as a company like Apple, I mean, they just selling like hotcakes. As they get all this money, well, the employees got to get a share of that too. Got to get a fair share, so you don't have people making $100 million on the executive side, and then the workers are getting $9 an hour or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And Ish, I know some years ago we had kind of I had bounced around the idea that I thought when you live in a capitalist society, it would help, since everything's based on spending, for us to do a simple straight sales tax situation with regards to taxes. That way, if you're poor and you ain't got the money, you could not buy nothing,
but you
collect your gross pay, and then do what you need to do.
Pause,
of course, you wouldn't tax food
out.
and stuff like that.
But no.
Yeah, set them straight, Paul.
Pause, man. Hey, but man, poor people disproportionately buy more. Because a poor person still got to buy. You got to buy food. You got to buy whatever. You got transportation. You got all things. Man, if you're filthy rich, that's when you're filthy rich. That's when you have the option. I don't need to buy that, or I can hold off on that. But when you're poor, like that share of your spending to what you're making is all going right back out the door. Groceries, whatever, clothes, whatever you need to get by at the bare minimum. Those people. Yeah,
but you would just be taxing more of the luxury stuff. But kind of like now the grocery tax is a lot cheaper.
But you said spending tax. Spending tax would hit the person. That's, I forget what the word is, but that's it affects poor people disproportionately more than it would affect rich people, because they can say no. But if you're talking about like on luxury goods, like Ferraris and you pay a special tax.
No, he's talking about just basically a flat sales tax. So what you're saying is right, to where that would just disproportionately affect.
Well, it wouldn't have to be exactly
people.
flat. It would be like a graduated, because I still would do luxury stuff would be higher. Food, of course, would you probably don't even tax food at all because there's no reason to. It's food, unless it's some luxury foods. I don't know what that is.
Oh hell yeah, there's some luxury for shit.
No, say if you got a $200 steak, you know what I'm saying, you can pay a little bit more on that sales tax, bro, because you got the money to buy a $200 steak. You know.
Yeah, but how do you make it work? Like when you go to the cashier, you put in some card and it's got your income on there, income information, and it says, okay, well this is your tax rate today, and this is, and then next due.
No, I mean it would have to just be based on the type of goods that it is. You know, like if I was like it said, if I was going to buy a Ferrari, the tax rate would be higher on that. You know, if I'm at the grocery store, the tax rate is still going to be the same for a rich person and a poor person that was buying, you know, a box of Cheerios. Because it's just Cheerios, you know, or bread or milk or whatever it is. But if you go on to buy some Supreme hoodie, you know, the tax rate is going to be higher on that.
Man, real talk, they could lower the taxes on everything and everybody if they just stop giving corporations big tax breaks. Like every time, if Amazon or whatever, the football team, or whenever they move into a city, they always get these huge tax breaks. Just end tax breaks and just charge people their taxes, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. You want to have incentives to, because we always treat corporations like they are just faceless entities, but they are in fact rich people. So they still move like rich people. So if you tax me, I'm gonna find a way to get out of these taxes, or I just won't do business and I'll just keep it in my bank.
Yeah, it's a tough subject, man. Tough subject.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I can tell you is I was definitely happier when I had less money, but no family, and living in an apartment. I was definitely things were a lot easier. Having a big house and family and one income makes it a lot more stressful. I can tell you that from experience.
I'm with the tiny house trend. Give me a tiny house, and let me just go out in the woods or whatever.
But you live in the dream, because you're the only one on the pod that don't have kids, so you can do that, and it's cool, man. But man, when you have those kids, it changes your whole perspective.
Yeah, you for sure ain't finna have no tiny house with no kids, man.
Yeah, because
it'd be people on with tiny houses with the kids too. Okay, I have my white moments where I watch the House Network, or what is that?
HGTV.
HGTV. Yeah, I have my white moments like Paul. When I channel my inner Paul, and I turn on HGTV, and I see those people with tiny houses, and they got babies and things like that. So you can't tell me that. I'm not buying that.
Whatever. You can keep that tiny house. I just need a house, a house big enough that I ain't never got to leave.
Man, you need multiple rooms when you're dealing with more than two people in the house. You need some square footage, man, so you don't kill each other. That's how I view it. So I bought when we moved to this house after we just had the kid. I was like, give me the biggest house I can afford and in the nicest school district, so I can have all these things. I don't want to move, because moving house to house is expensive. If you own it costs a lot to sell a house and buy a new house. So I ain't trying to move nowhere. So I was like, man, I'm buying this house, spend as much as I can, be house poor for a couple years, and just have to make it work, because I'm not trying to move, because you'll lose money having to move and stuff like that. So, man, it's just a lot of factors you don't think about when you're younger and you're like, you're just starting out in your career. But once you get older and have that family, man, at least for me, it definitely changed my perspective. I mean, Ryan knows me from when we were literally pooling money together to buy 29-cent cheeseburgers at McDonald's, and then put them in a crappy freezer to eat them for a week, because that's how broke we were. So
we was in that. Well, we have a 12 by 4-inch tall freezer. Just trying to stack them mugs up for the rest of the week.
Stacking McDonald's, man. If I eat one McDonald's cheeseburger right now, my stomach is trash for like a month. Like literally, I'll be hurting. And back then, I used to order like 12 of them, eat those like 2 a day, every day for a week. Terrible, man. Terrible.
I'm sorry to hear that, fellas.
That's how it was, man. But I wasn't trying to set out to, change the world or nothing. Just a discussion, and maybe maybe we can inspire somebody out there to fix the problems or make some changes. So we can move on to our last little topic, though. So, Paul, this is one that you wanted to talk about.
Oh,
my man Tyrone Hankerson.
Okay.
From Howard University. He clearly thought that he didn't have enough money. He wanted a little bit more money, so he found a way to get it through his own scholarships and grant program.
Alleged.
Yeah, allegedly. So this brother stole what they say about 400,000.
Yeah,
429,000.
429,000. They said dude was rolling in a luxury vehicle. He was stunting, going all on all these trips, etc., etc. I think he had been going to the school for quite a few years. He was apparently was he a graduate student? I believe
law school. I think he's getting ready to graduate in law. Is what I read.
Yeah. So he found a way to put his own name on these grants, and he was just cashing out every semester. So, what y'all think about that story? Ishmael, I guess we can start with you.
I mean,
and I guess the question is he the finesse god, as Paul said he is?
Well, he would have been. He was a finesse guy for a while until he got caught, and then once you get caught, can't really call you that, man. But this dude clearly, and I'm not a generation basher. I hate when people like this generation, that. But the generation that we're in now love to stunt and love to put everything on social media.
Right.
This dude might have got away with it
if it wasn't for them kids and their dog.
Instagram every day. This dude had big furs on. Dude had like a Land Rover or a Range Rover. He just turned into an Instagram model, basically. So you stealing all this money and you just putting it out there, rubbing it in everybody's face. And then he tried to claim that his mom taught him how to ball on a budget. So, man, this dude is in all these exotic destinations, all these locations, acting like he never stole no money. Man, please, get out of here.
Yeah, man, real G's moving silent. So I don't know why he's putting everything on the gram, but dog, the one thing I want to talk about is the picture where the dude's jumping in the middle of the road with the outfit on. Like, man, who takes pictures like that? That's just, where are we as a society where that's acceptable for a dude to just be jumping and looking back the other way with a real zesty outfit on in the middle of the street? Like, who does that? Who does that, man?
That's the new Jumpman. That's Jumpman 2018.
I guess so, man.
I'm not
about to get his own sneakers.
I'm not even surprised about this story. This has been going on since the beginning of time. I can remember sitting up in college classes like the first couple of weeks of school, and you got people that show up and they're like, "I'm just here for the check," and then you don't see them after a month. This dude just did it on a different scale.
Yeah, well, obviously, people. But Ryan, I never knew about this hustle, but Ryan, not hustle, but like, the financial aid check and,
hustle.
Being able to use more of your financial aid money than like on, whatever you wanted to versus I thought I had to go all
don't remind me, man, because I hate past me because of that same stuff.
Well, break it down, man.
I ain't breaking nothing down. It was stupid. I'm not going to say that I was doing it. You just got a refund. That's what they did. They didn't. And that's the racket with schools, and that's how they get you on them student loans. Is you put your how much you get, then they take off the tuition, but everything left they just give it to you. They don't say like, "Oh, we already paid your tuition, sir." That's a zero.
See, I was too dumb.
If you take out 6,000, you take out 6,000.
See, I was paying the out of state, so like whatever my financial aid was, it wasn't enough to cover that. So I never had there was never anything coming back to me.
Well, I was too when we was going to Memphis. When I was up here, it was a lot less. But yeah, I used to owe a lot in Memphis. But I got back in grants and stuff too.
Back in the day, you used to be able to get the whole check.
Right. Yeah.
Ryan was holding out on me. He's still holding out on the cheeseburgers. He had $2-3 grand in his pocket.
Nah, man.
He's like, man, let me borrow $5 so we can go. He wouldn't even buy me a pizza one time, man. So cheap at grand stacks under his bed. So they cheat me for $5.
I have nothing down there.
He was stunned. He had on the pink shorts with the flamingo shirt like Tyrone.
Man, look, Ryan getting the Lumina.
On some chubs.
Ryan getting with the dirty Reeboks, getting the Lumina, go around the corner and step out of the car, get into a brand new Jag with a tuxedo on. Man, that's probably what Ryan was doing.
Yeah, right.
I had them 12s in the trunk when everybody else had 8s.
Man, what?
Never. I was down there. I was struggling. I remember first semester I got a refund check. But then they ain't pay for my room and board. So I owed like $1,200, man, and I already spent that $1,200. So it was stupid. So no, man, it was a bad idea. I was not balling.
Did you buy anything good with the money you did get?
I'm pretty sure I did not. I mean, I had to put a lot of work into the Lumina, man. I mean, I ain't really talk about it down there, but that car was not running well all the time. So a lot of it went to it.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I feel you.
And you know, Firestone used to fleece us. Firestone fleeced me down there a couple times.
Oh yeah. Man, hey, any car come place they'll try to get you, man. Any place.
And man, I think this Tyrone Hankerson story should really be a PSI, especially to black men, that bad things happen when black dudes wear fur coats. So we got him stunting in this fur coat.
Yeah.
He had all pictures in this big fur coat. Then Ryan, before the podcast, you sent the video of Safari, and he up in the radio studio crying with this big fur coat covering his whole head, talking about, man, I just got robbed at gunpoint. I just got robbed. They put a gun in my face. And not to make light of the man getting robbed, but you got on a big fur coat, like covering your whole body. So black men that wear fur coats, bad things are going to happen to you. So just don't do it, because I'm not going to feel sorry for you. If I wear a fur coat outside, I'm going to expect to get robbed. I'm going to expect to get busted.
And every time he get out the ride, he got a fur coat on too. Safari.
Right.
Every time. He was asking for it. But yeah. I don't know, man. I'm going to say this dude is not a finesse guy because you got caught. I agree with that.
Busted.
You know, you gotta have if you're gonna be out here robbing on a scale now.
But now,
Lord forgive me, but I'm just talking right now. I don't really mean none of this. But if you're gonna be out here robbing, go big or go home. Don't be out here robbing people. Rob a bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't waste your time, man. Go big. And if you're gonna steal $400,000, you need to have an out. You need to be going to Panama because that money will last down there. And he had no out, man. He was just like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing this forever. Man, the game don't last forever, man. Have an out.
Well, you've heard, like, to follow up on this, like, you know, he's come out with, like, a little, you know, couple articles and had his lawyer, and basically he said he's denying all these allegations. In fact, he says that...
My man did an interview, didn't he?
He did an interview, and so, like, Howard, I guess they fired some people, and so I just assumed, like, okay, well, he was one of the guys that got fired, you know, for doing this, because I think I read that they fired, like, 6 people that worked in the financial aid office. But apparently he was not one of those people that got fired. He's still enrolled to school, from what I understand, and he was not one of the people that got fired. So
he claimed he was going clear his name and all this kind of stuff.
That's what. That's
clearly lying.
Something doesn't shake up. He's claiming like, oh, he knew how to work the system better because he worked in the office, so he knew how to pull certain strings or do whatever he had to do to get these grants. I don't know what's true, but at least he's denying that part of it, which is. It's an interesting strategy. We'll see how it works out for
him. He gonna be doing 15 to 20 in a federal penitentiary. That's what he gonna be doing. So we can look for Mr. Hankerson at a prison near you, and
where those mugshots will not be helping him.
No, they won't. And he ain't sound like he was too tough either. So it's gonna be a rough time for him. All right, so let's see. We had about an hour and 12, fellas. So I think that's gonna be it for tonight.
All right.
So, Ish, are you ready to tell them where they can find us?
I am never ready, but I still get it done. So if people want to find us, they can come check us out first and foremost on Twitter. We are at Black Delegates. There is an underscore between Black and Delegates. If you want to follow Ryan on the Twitter, he is at the Black Ryan. You can follow me at Ghetto Phenom. We are also on the Facebook, which a lot of y'all are getting off Facebook, but we still there for now. That is Black Delegates Pod. Ryan, tell them where they can actually listen to the podcast if they choose to.
You can find us on iTunes, of course. We are on Stitcher. We're on Podbean. And anywhere else that's got an RSS feed, just Google the Black Delegates RSS feed, and it'll probably come up. I probably should try that before I tell you to. But that's all right. If you listen to the podcast, you already know where it's at anyway. So you good.
They already know.
Anybody that's saying that they're getting off Facebook, stop it. You're going to get back on. It's nowhere else to go. Everybody's there.
I'm not on.
Everybody's there. Just stay.
I don't know. I don't know. I actually even deleted it from my phone. I didn't delete the account, but I took it off my phone. They were tracking Android calls and text messages and all of that. So I said, I'm going to just take it off my phone. If I need to access it, I'll access it on a computer.
We might have to talk about this next week, though.
Yeah, we can talk about it because I think Facebook, the beginning of the end is here. I think it's going to take a while because it's so big and everybody's got it.
Too big to fail.
The beginning of the end is here. It's going to go the way of MySpace.
It's too big. It's too big to fail, and you ain't really got no information on there that you ain't put on there. So if you just take the information off, I mean, nobody know nothing. But yeah, we'll can of worms that, and we can talk about it next week. Let's see. So all our listeners, if you could, of course, we appreciate likes and shares. Please rate us on iTunes. 5 stars would be appropriate, I think. I think we're doing good work. Always hit us up with your comments or questions. You can always tweet us. And ask questions if you got any questions or something you may want us to talk about on the podcast. We can do that too. I'm open to suggestions, but other than that, I think that's it.
And I like to do this, and I think I'm gonna start doing this like every week.
Y'all notice that Ishmael does this every time I say that's it. He always adds something else.
Exactly. You're gonna add some more on. So I'm gonna start doing this before, but I feel like I want to shout out, a black podcast or a black business, just with it's no cross promotion, there's no money, no nothing, just to show some other black folks some love. So I do want to shout out the Marching Podcast. That's a homie of mine from back in the day. Ryan knows him too. Check out the Marching Podcast. It's actually a really good podcast. He's been doing it for years and years and years. So go check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. And also the last thing I'll say, we talk about getting some feedback. And I got some personal feedback. This wasn't on social media.
Okay.
I had a person that I know that listened to the show, and I said, "What'd you think about it?" And it was a young lady, and she said, "Oh, I really like it. It's really good." She said, "But I just cannot stand Paul." And so, Paul,
for real?
you have a podcast hater.
Congratulations, Paul.
Somebody love the show but hate Paul, so we're going to keep putting them out there. Keep sending your hate mail about Paul, and we'll make sure that we share it with them every week.
hardknockstl@hotmail.com.
Shout out to Brave at Toy Detox Podcast. He shouts us out. At least he has the last couple episodes. They do like I don't know. It ain't even, man. Y'all do like a monthly podcast at this point, bro. I don't know what's going on. It used to be weekly. Now it's monthly. I just listen whenever I see something pop up. But big ups to him for always telling people to listen to the podcast, and I appreciate it.
Big
now,
ups.
Is that it, Ishmael?
Big ups.
No?
Big ups to this podcast because this is the only podcast I deal with.
G, have you ever went back and actually listened to this podcast?
Not yet.
So, as you can see, our own people on the show don't listen to our own podcast.
Well,
So
I feel like I don't have to go back and listen to it. I lived it.
Must be nice. I listened to it like 4 times.
Now he did listen before he joined, though.
Before I joined you guys, I listened to some of it, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to get on."
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought you
that
just popped up.
That motivated me to get my snowball.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I got one now too, so that's why my audio sounds so crispy.
Crispy. Paul, did you get yours?
I have not. I'm meant to do that this weekend, but I will be getting it next week. It's on the list.
He was too busy buying ferns.
Plucking his eyebrows.
Plucking his eyebrows.
He spent his microphone money on a fern.
I need some new tweezers.
If that hater hated my other podcast episode, she's definitely going to hate this one. So it's okay.
Right. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get out of there. I have extended this beyond time once again. So thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.